my dad was in high school at the time, and it was just him and my grandfather. Just my dad and his father were living in the house, in a small house on a farm, and they were actually in the Coronado area of San Diego. So I remember my dad telling me that his father, right after Pearl Harbor, advised my father, you know, there may come a time when you're going to come home from school and I won't be here. I'll just, you know, I'll be gone. I think there's a possibility that I'll be taken away. And in the meantime, you're not going to have money, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take U.S. cash, currency, and he sewed it into the linings of coats that were hanging in the closet, because he knew that if he was going to be picked up, he wasn't going to be able to take anything. He probably wasn't going to be able to leave much of anything for my father. And so that's what he did. He sewed cash into the lining of coats. In fact, if there came a time when my dad came home from school, I think he was a senior in high school at the time, or maybe a junior, and his dad was gone. And it just made me sad to think that my grandfather probably was in there with no one visiting him, because his wife was in Japan, his daughter and youngest son were in Japan, my dad was in San Diego, and then the only other child was my dad's older brother, who enlisted with the U.S. Army right after Pearl Harbor. And so he may have known somebody in Los Angeles, but actually I don't know. I suspect he never got any visitors, and it's heartbreaking to think about. One of the things I found interesting about my father was, growing up, the different kind of cars that we owned as a family. And we owned a Chevrolet and an Oldsmobile and a Buick and then a Cadillac. And I thought, you know, this is around a time in the 70s and 80s when Japanese cars were becoming really popular. And it didn't occur to me till much later that I realized it was my dad saying, I'm an American. You know, he would tell me stories, my dad would tell me stories about him and his brother, his older brother, being in San Diego High School. He ran track, he was on the school newspaper, you know, just the typical, what you would consider the all-American, you know, existence, right? And then Pearl Harbor hit. And then his dad's taken away, his brother enlists, he's by himself, and then he gets the internment order, right? So he has to do whatever you do, pack up whatever you can pack up. I remember he packed his manual typewriter. That was his one prized possession. Carried that in a case, and then I assume he had a suitcase of clothes or whatever. Then he went to the bus and lined up and went to Santa Anita. I want to make sure that whatever happened to my father, and there's 120,000 other Japanese Americans who were interned, that doesn't go for naught, that counts for something, that we need to always remember it and to combat it, to fight back against it.